What is up, Capstone family? This is Ed coming at you on this Friday, the 15th of December, 2023. I'm back in my office this week. I thought that I'd give you at least one more shout from this space before we make the next door location more of our permanent space for our Friday updates. But hey, I thought this week I'd bring you just some feedback on some of the things going on behind the scenes when it comes to leasing. And I've had some questions lately, more than most, of people coming up with options and exploring options after maybe a family member has passed on or a property is left in a trust to left in the trust to figure out how are we going to move forward with this property. Is this something that the members of the trust are going to have to deal with? If so, how does that work? Lots of interesting questions, and it's been actually pretty fun because I see so many different perspectives from so many different people, all intending to do, of course, very similar things, avoiding the risk, avoiding the pitfalls and challenges, but thought through a couple of things this week and wanted to share on something personally. And when I first got into the real estate business, my mom actually 1031'd a property out here to Phoenix, and I lived in it and did more of a rental arbitrage and rented out a room. My roommate and I lived there. It was a great place. My mom, as the owner, was the landlord, and that was a great experience for her. Fast forward a year and a half later, and I bought my first house. And after I bought that house, I continued to manage that first property, her property, and learned a lot of lessons with that property. And one of the things that I learned was when people thought that I was the owner, they treated me differently than if I was doing it as my job. Now, this was, granted, it was before I was in real estate full time. I didn't know a lot. I was in my young 20s. I didn't really, I didn't really know what I didn't know. So, I don't want to say I was taken advantage of, but really, like the three tenants that I had during that time all knew at least a little bit more than me confidence-wise as to what they thought the lease should look like. One of those situations was a situation of understanding the amount of income that this person made and what I could or could not have pursued after the fact, because I just didn't know. I didn't know it was something that I should even have been looking at. When I was screening people back in the day, I was looking at, of course, running a credit history. Also, doing my best to do some sort of background check on them. Back then, I don't even remember what I was using. Probably nothing's even similar to what we're using today. But I remember at least the background check of credit coming back, looking at that and saying, okay, they seem cool, right? And that was basically what I used for coming up with whether or not we're going to put these people in the property. What I realized during that time was that as those tenants thought I was an owner of the property, right? I was, or maybe they knew I was the owner's son, whatever it was, but they always played like it was playing with my heartstrings, trying to get me to make a decision that was based more on how I felt about the situation based on what was written on the contract. Of course, I didn't know the contracts as well back then. I didn't know what I could or couldn't enforce. That was before the days of finding drevictor.com. There's a shout out to our attorneys. That was a website that I ended up finding much later in my career. But again, these are all things that I just didn't know going into it. Fast forward to now, one of the things that we've recently adopted at Capstone is something that's drastically cut down how long it takes for us to process applications. And one of the things that we found in the past, something that we it's just almost a non-negotiable for me, is verification of employment and income, verification of where the money is coming in from when it comes to a tenant. When they tell us that they have a job, when they tell us, how do we verify those things? Well, it was a very painstaking process and one of the longest pieces of running applications up until now. Now we have a solution that is a plug and play. The tenant is able to go into the system. They're able to basically expose their bank accounts to this third-party system that lets us see that system consistently, what is being paid. So it shows that there's steady income from, let's say, a job or other sources of income. And then on top of that, it can also verify, like if the person puts in their pay stub, it can verify that the pay stub is genuine. So all these cool things now that we have that I didn't have back in my disposal back then, but things that we want to, be able to use to make the process easier, to move the needle a little bit more. And again, as the market shakes up here, that makes it much easier for us to process these requests significantly faster and getting back to people and locking them up. Hope this is helpful. I love real estate investing lately, with these conversations that we're having when it comes to the family matters, the challenges on that side. It's fun to be able to stand from a 10,000 foot view and move things around, right? It's a unique position that I'm in oftentimes, but there's always the person, the people element. And as we make these decisions, when we're looking at things on paper, it's that human element of it as to how people are going to be affected by the decisions that we're making when it comes to where are they going to live and who's going to be responsible. If there's one thing I've learned in this process, it's putting everything on paper, writing it all down on a contract, and making sure that if you're not able to be the person to say, yes, you can do this, or no, you're not able to do this, then you're not able to be the person who, let's say, if you can't say no, then you can't say yes. So ultimately, that's when good management's in place. And there's a need for people like us who just are here to enforce the lease and do it as plain and as easy as possible for everybody. Cool. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great weekend. We're 1 week before the main holidays, and look forward to sharing some time with my family. I hope you're thinking of doing that the same, sharing some time with people that you love, reflecting on what an amazing, incredible, and sometimes challenging year this was. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.